This week's episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast is proudly brought to you by Off-Grid Food Company. Off-Grid Food Company's products were born from the countless nights in the wilderness they call their second home. Their goal is to create the premier line of handcrafted foods from real, source-focused ingredients for all your hunts, scouting trips, fishing trips, or regular backcountry adventures. All their products are developed with the rigors of the backcountry in mind and are developed and crafted to help you go the extra distance. Check them out online or on Instagram today. You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, episode 105. This week on the show, we're talking Manitoba Mayhem as we check in with a couple friends of the show who are up chasing waterfowl north of the border. All right, welcome to the 105th episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Palm, and we are your on-demand audio source for all things waterfowl and waterfowl hunting. Check us out at hpoutdoors.com. You can find us across all the social media platforms out there, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you're on Facebook, head over to our Facebook listeners group. Chat with a bunch of other listeners of the show. If you're new to the show, you can head over to iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you find your quality podcast content, you can find our show. We love 5-star ratings and reviews. Helps new hunters just like you find our program. Joining me this week, as he always does, is Dan Harushka. Dan, what's up?
Dude, it's starting to get chilly. I know you like cold fronts.
I love cold fronts, and it definitely feels like fall. Temperatures dropping down into the 50s and 60s here during the day in Virginia. And it just reconfirms the fact that fall is undefeated, and it is the best time of the year without question.
Yeah. I think we're supposed to wake up to 1/4 to an inch of snow in the morning.
That's cool.
Yeah. Here. So.
Awesome.
It's getting exciting.
Yeah.
Fun times.
Maybe to bring some new birds into your area and
birds.
Say again?
Birds in general.
Bring a bird to your area. But before we get too far into this week's episode, just want to take a second to thank the companies that support the show. This week, we are thanking Adrenaline, bird hunting made quick, clean, and humane. The finisher is the alternative to the out-of-date technique that can damage or destroy your trophy bird. The finisher has been tested in the field and continues to hold true to its name. The finisher can easily be worn on your lanyard, vest, or jacket. Check them out at www.adrenaline.com to get yours today. Also, thank you to Lucky Duck. About the only creature that they can't deceive is you. Lucky Duck is more than a brand. It's a lifestyle built around the subtle art of critter deception. So while you're focused on the business end of your shotgun or rifle, know that they're completely focused on what matters most, you. Whether you're in the duck blind, dove field, on a predator stand, or chasing turkeys, they're confident that their products will help you succeed. Check out their full lineup at luckyduck.com. Keep up with their latest news by following them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Also, 737 Duck and Goose Calls, original design, select grade components, superior sound, and unparalleled service. 737 takes exceptional pride in producing the finest quality, best built premium calls on the market today. They're made in America, and they're offered only direct to consumer through their website. Shipping in the U.S. is always free, and international orders are also now accepted online. A 20-day money-back guarantee and lifetime warranty accompany every call purchased. 737 Duck Calls lead the flock. Also, Gunner Kennels, engineered for your dog and designed for travel, built for your peace of mind. The G1 Kennel has set a new industry standard and put Gunner Kennels in a category all its own. Gunner Kennels was started to protect your pet, and it continues to be at the center of everything that they do. They're dedicated to building the best and safest pet travel crate on the market, because man's best friend deserves man's best kennel. Check out their G1 series of kennels and accessories at gunnerkennels.com. Also, thank you to Mount Airy Waterfowl Club of Warsaw, Virginia, Camp Chef, and Black Rifle Coffee Company. Say it every week, but these are the companies that support our show, so please support them in any way that you can. One way to help you out do that is some discount codes. You can head over to the HP Outdoors website, check out the discount codes tab and find out how you can save 10% off with Dunn Sporting Goods, 15% off with Black Rifle Coffee Company, 10% off with White Rock Decoys, 15% off with 737 Duck Calls, 15% off with Alpha Dog Nutrition, 10% off with Gunner Kennels, and 10% off of the Ridge Wallet. So make sure you utilize those codes if you're in the market for some new gear. All right, Dan. So since the last time we talked, I think you did some hunting, yeah?
Yeah, I did. Real quick, first, just some admin stuff here. The Gunner Kennels code was down for a little bit. So if you try to get something with the code, it is back up and running now. So go ahead over there. HP Outdoors 2 will save you 10% on anything. And 737, if you are in our Facebook listeners group, is going to be releasing a special edition call that some of our listeners are going to go probably a little crazy over. So that's all I can say. But yeah, duck hunted down the south zone of PA, opened up, and I went down with Jacob Britton and Pete Shandrick. And I'll tell you what, we hiked in, I think it's probably half-mile hiking, had a jet sled, took a lot of stuff. Pete carried his own blind bag because it was more like a suitcase. It was about the size of my backcountry pack that I take for 7-day hunts.
Is it comparable to our buddy Travis's rucksack that he used to take out?
Yeah, I mean it's very it's pretty big. So wow. I think he's changing it up. So yeah, the thing was, I thought there was like a sleeping bag and then his blind bag on top of it, but it was all like just a bag, one blind bag, just huge. But anyway, no, I had to mention that to get Pete a little bit. But no, it was so we get back on this lake and we get settled in, and I have never heard that many wood ducks and mallards going off before shooting light. Like, it was a show. It was like a concert. So we just sat there and listened, and there were some other guys at the other end of the lake, and they started shooting early, and by the time the birds got to us, they were too high to shoot, and we killed a few, and it was a good time. Good time meeting up and sharing a blind with some guys from the group, and just fun all around. It was about an hour and 45-minute drive for me, so a little longer than what I normally do, but it was worth it, and a really good time.
Yeah, I remember we were texting the night before, and you were talking about the length of the drive, and that's, I mean, an hour 45 is longer than what I typically do as well. But I think what you're underselling is that your typical drive is like 15 minutes, like 20 minutes maybe, right?
It depends. Usually, the closest is 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, and the longest is usually 45 to 50. So an hour longer than 50?
What in the world?
Yeah.
Never heard you talk about that.
I'm not going to tell you where I'm going.
Yeah, okay.
On air. But no, some of those spots, probably 40 minutes, 45 minutes, easy, depending on traffic lights. And if I stop at, if I stop for Timbits.
Yeah, if you hit up Tim Hortons and get some Timbits on your way, maybe you're talking 40 minutes. But I know, I just think it's funny because, I there's nowhere that I hunt that's closer than an hour to my house. So that's kind of like a minimum drive for me, which, sucks. I wish it was closer, but yeah. So I know how
but yeah, then
those early mornings feel.
Then the usual, we're decided to pack up. So we're out in the middle of the marsh getting all the decoys, and I don't know, like 20 mallards circling right over top of us, wanting to get in where we're at, and then a couple wood ducks buzz by us, and we're like, all right, let's keep a couple decoys out and sit on the edge here, and we did that for another 15 or 20 minutes, but I think we ruined that part. So I don't know. It was a good time. It was fun, a lot of laughs, and that just goes back to what we always say. You share a duck blind with someone that you've never met, and they become friends real quick if you're like-minded, and that's the way it was. So a couple of great guys, and I plan on hunting with them multiple times this year.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Good to hear. My duck season is out here until I'm not even sure when it comes in. I think there's a split in November at some point. So yeah, at this point for me, I'm pretty much hunting deer, I guess, at this point until I guess the rut's over, unless I end up hunting South Zone PA or something like that between now and then. But probably going to be deer hunting most of the time. So yeah, not quite as exciting, but gets me outside at least and doing something. So I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah. You need to get up into PA. There's birds down there.
Yeah. Well, and as I said, the minimum distance for me is 1 hour, essentially. And, I can get into the South Zone of Pennsylvania within that time. And there's a lot more public ground opportunities, a lot more just less densely populated areas kind of along in that stretch of area. So there's a lot of great opportunities up there. And I've had a lot of people from the group reach out to me and stuff like that, about hunting opportunities there. So, definitely something that I'm looking at doing. And, I'll tell you, just because of where I live in Virginia and the lack of, public land opportunities right here close to me, I may end up branching out a little bit further and doing some other stuff. We'll see. But anywho, this week, we're talking to some guys who are not in that problem and are north of the border in Canada, Manitoba, getting on some birds.
Yeah, man. I talked to Kyle Williams and Marshall Anliker. They go up there on this is a second annual trip. So they go up there and they meet up with an outfitter. They have all the decoys and just have a blast. So this year they took a 31-foot Sunseeker, which they nicknamed the Fun Seeker. And, all the guys, same vehicle. They were saying one of the older guys, if he needs to lay down or whatever, he can go in and rest when he needs to. And going out to the field, they can lay down, relax, and then they get there. They were driving it out into the fields. May or may not have got stuck a time or two, but yeah, it was a high energy episode. The guys were super pumped to be up there, and I think they were just getting ready to pack up and head home. But really, just a lot of fun. You think about the trips that you go on with friends and the memories made, and that's one that they do yearly, and they really enjoy it. And you can hear it in their tone as they talk through the episode. So it's a good one.
Yeah, and this was also one that was recorded while I was in Disney. So we're, don't want to pull it out too long without releasing it. So we can have back-to-back weeks here where you're running the con and have the interviews going. So, I thought last episode's interview went really well. So excited to see how this one turns out. And I guess probably without further ado, we go ahead and get into that and roll your conversation with the boys up in Manitoba.
All right, listeners, on this episode, or this special episode, I'm not quite sure what it's going to be, but we got Kyle Williams and Marshall Anliker, some Kansas boys that are up in Canada, and we're doing a little check-in with them. So, guys, how's it going?
It's going well. Just hanging out in the wonderful metropolis that is Boise, Bain, Manitoba.
I tell you what, I've been watching all your updates and talking on social media and stuff, and it looks like you're having a blast. But let's we can get right down to it. You guys started in Kansas, Cheyenne Bottoms, right? With teal.
We did.
And how'd that go? You had a lot of birds in your lap there.
Yeah, we had a blast. So we were down, Cheyenne Bottoms, which is south central Kansas, and there's an early teal season here in Kansas for us, and so it's pretty much, I don't know, for Marshall and I mean, almost every year it's something that we do. It's just the kickoff to waterfowl season, and this year I got to join up with Marshall and some of his longtime friends, and I mean, we had 9 guys out in the field. It was a blast.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
9 guys on public water. It was a production.
That's awesome. Now, did you guys have panel blinds set up in the marsh?
We did.
How'd that work?
One of the reasons. It worked really well, actually. That was one of the reasons why we settled on panel blinds as opposed to an A-frame last year, and it worked without a hitch, honestly. It probably cost us an extra trip in the boat, shuttling back and forth, but our concealment was better than we'd ever had. But to kind of paint a picture of what Cheyenne Bottoms looks like is, I don't know what the exact acreage is, but I believe it's between 5,000 and 10,000 acres of basically 2-foot deep water and cattails with open areas that you can hunt in. And so all of these areas move in and out, and there's no straight lines or anywhere where you could set up 9 guys in a straight line to safely hunt together, really. So we decided we'd take the panel blinds in, and we were able to set up in a straight line, keep everyone safe, and we were concealed better than we'd been in the past.
Yeah.
So it was a win.
Yeah, we just dropped it right down in the water, kind of the mud and muck. You know what it's like walking through a marsh, and so it kind of holds it in place. And there was enough vegetation, and cut a bunch down. And we had Moose with us, Marshall's dog, and got his blind all brushed up real good, and we had a fun time. It was a really good hunt. I mean, I think we ended up shooting a little over 40 birds. Almost 50?
Almost 50. I think it was 47. 47 retrieved birds, and when we counted our down birds unretrieved, we were actually one shy of our 9-man limit.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I looked at, Kyle. I'm talking to Kyle and Marshall here. We are going to Big Kansas Outdoors end of November, and these fellows are joining us with their camera expertise, photography and videography. So definitely excited to have them out there. But Kyle, you put together a short out there. You weren't out there very long, or I think Marshall said something, between shooting and videoing, it was a bunch of quick clips, but it looked like a great hunt.
Well, I struggle from the same thing that probably anybody that loves to hunt and loves to shoot photos or video does, and that is, which weapon do you pick up for that flock of birds? And so at some point in time, like I've done it up here in Canada. It's like, all right, I'm going to put my gun away. I'm going to zip up the case, and I'm just going to film for a little bit. And I did it up down there in Cheyenne Bottoms, and we had a really good time. And with that many birds, and for anybody that's familiar with Cheyenne Bottoms, there's just always birds flying around, especially on that opening weekend. So it's kind of nonstop action. And so, yeah, I was able to pick up the camera for a little bit and capture some memories, and that's what it's all about. So
that's awesome. So Marshall, you mentioned you had a boat. What kind of boat are you running through there? Is it like a mud motor, or what kind of? Because 2 foot, it probably gets a little shady sometimes.
Yeah, it is a 1854 low, I believe, with a 35 horsepower long tail on it.
Nice.
So with 9 guys, I think we took 4 trips to get all the gear and everything out there. It looked like we brought a decoy trailer out to this marsh where people are packing in 24 decoys. We looked a bit ridiculous, but we killed our birds.
Yeah, you did what you had to do. No, that's awesome. And, the images and video out of that was sweet too. So, I'm thinking about your Instagram stories and following you guys, and that's been a super fun trip to be a part of over social media. But, a lot of questions that we still get in our group and just emails in general, crossing Canada, taking dogs. Did you guys have any issues with that? You ended up taking 3 dogs up there. So what kind of paperwork did you have to make sure that they got in?
So I brought my 10-month-old pup King up here. My buddy Don brought his dog Duke, and then Marshall brought his 2-year-old dog Moose with him. And so each one of us, we kind of double checked the regulations, at least for crossing into Manitoba. And what they required was, at the very least, was a rabies certificate. And so as long as you had that, you could get in. But I think each one of us went ahead and played it safe. We also got just a copy of all vaccinations, and you can pay your veterinarian usually a couple extra bucks and get a health certificate, which is when your vet says, I am signing off on this dog traveling from this location to whatever location you're at in for us here in Manitoba, and on back across the border back into the United States. And the reason that all of us did that is at least my vet here in Kansas City, or there in Kansas City, since I'm here in Manitoba, just suggested that going into Canada is pretty easy. All you need is that rabies certificate. But occasionally going back into the United States, you can get a little bit of difficulty. So he said, hey, man, I'm not trying to squeeze money out of you, but I just think you'd be playing it safe if you go ahead and get that health certificate, get your vaccination records, and get your rabies certificate. Have it all with you, have multiple copies. And another thing about having multiple copies is technically you're supposed to have a copy of all those things with you in your blind bag, or at least with you and your dog at all times. So I definitely suggest getting a few copies of those just so you're legal if you ever got stopped by a game warden or someone else that would want to check up on those things. So when we went across the border, it was actually really easy. We ended up crossing through at about 10 o'clock at night, just because from Kansas City, it's a 15-hour drive, especially in a 31-foot RV that we took up here. So
it was at 72 miles per hour,
yeah,
max speed and 80 mile an hour speed limits.
Old girl wasn't going to be going more than that. So we had the cruise set at 72. And anyway, so by the time we got to the border, it was a little bit later, but actually it was really simple. When we got there, we obviously, had all of our passports, showed it to them. That is pulled forward. We came in, signed our documents about bringing our guns into the country, and then they also had us sign our documents about our dogs, and they took copies of the rabies certificate, and then that was it. We got back. They never, actually, for us, we were really fortunate. They never even checked the RV or anything, which I don't know what that says about Canada. If I saw 6 guys rolling up with 3 dogs in an RV at 10 o'clock at night, I don't know. I'd probably be a little suspicious, but it all went over really good. Yeah. So, I mean, they want to know your alcohol and tobacco. That's normal. But yeah, by and large, it was super simple. But I think we were just, fortunately, I think being organized really helped us out. And we didn't have any difficulties. And crossing our fingers, we have to go back home in the morning. We won't have any going back home. So
is there a time limit? I believe there is, but what is the time limit on the rabies certification?
It's just that they are up to date. It's not.
It doesn't have to be like 3 months or 6 months or something.
No.
Yeah, I think your rabies vaccination only lasts for so long, so that when you print off that document, it has an expiration date based on when that vaccination occurred, from what I understand. So this is saying your dog received a vaccination within the time frame that your dog will be in Canada.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And then to go back to those health certificates, technically in the U.S., if you're traveling interstate, you are supposed to have that health certificate from your vet. Technically. Most people don't worry about it. But my vet informed me back when I lived in Colorado, when I was traveling all the time back and forth from Kansas, that technically I was supposed to have a health certificate to go back and forth. So that's something to keep in mind also. If you're planning on taking a trip across the country, that might be something that you would want to just take care of to not deal with a hassle later on. I
wonder if anyone's got a fine or something for that.
I have no idea. We're just playing it safe here.
No, that's I'm a stickler for that kind of stuff, and I don't get anxiety much except for like legalities. So I want to make sure I'm always in the clear, and now that you bring that up, I'm going to be worried about it. So thank you for that. But
we spent all this money on these Southern Oak Kennel dogs from Barton, and then the last thing you want to do is have your dog taken away from you in a foreign country and never see it again. So,
oh man,
we decided to make sure that we were good and safe.
Yeah, that's the way to go about it. So, both of you mentioned your means of travel here. Go ahead and talk about what y'all pulled up into the border and beyond, and how that thing is making it in and out of fields and back roads up there in Canada.
Well, yeah. So we're driving a 31-foot Sunseeker, this is actually a pretty cool thing. So nowadays, just like VRBO for homes, you can VRBO an RV. So we went to a website, I think it was rvshare.com, found one in our area. And I think the way that it even started was we knew that we'd have 6 guys and 3 dogs, and there's no pickup truck that I know of that can handle all that, plus a trailer. And so it was just too much gear, and we thought, well, maybe if we got an RV, we might pay a little bit more in gas, but 1, it would just be a blast to drive, but 2, we would be able to be in one vehicle the whole way and not have to worry about, coordinating a caravan all the way through Canada. And so we found an RV, and she's a beaut. She doesn't go, she's not a dragster or anything, but she gets us from point A to point B, and we've probably taken her to point C probably a few times too many, but we've had fun. So
this poor soul that rented us this camper.
Yeah, I hope they're not a listener. Actually, we've treated it pretty well. We've treated the Sunseeker pretty well. Or as we renamed it the Fun Seeker, but that's all right.
Oh my gosh. So yeah. I'm just thinking about the regulations on a VRBO renting a house, and obviously they allowed dogs in it. Did they know that it was going to Canada and into fields in Canada?
Yeah. Well, so we rented it. We technically paid the full rental like a month before, because that's just the way it works. You kind of pay it all up front. And then about a week before, we were like, hey, did we inform them that we're going to have 3 dogs in this RV, and we're going to be on back roads of Manitoba? I mean, we're not driving paved roads everywhere. So we gave him a call, and the guy was like, yeah, no, that's great. I mean, my one thing is when I give it to you, however clean it is, it needs to be returned that way or better. So we've got our work cut out for us. Don't get us wrong, but we very much made sure they knew exactly what we were going to do, and it's worked out great.
Now, I will say that there is no better way to travel to Canada than sitting on a sofa the entire way with a laptop on your lap and editing photos. Time flies by while Kyle drives. It's fantastic.
Getting the work done.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And it adds, 2 extra days to duck camp. Literally, you have a traveling duck camp. I'm sure that you guys are laughing harder than...
Oh, yeah. And I would tell people, some folks don't think about this, but, for us, you could travel anywhere between 15 minutes to the field you're hunting or 45 minutes from where we're at. And so just that time with the people that we came up here with, for Marshall and I, really, really good friends, a father and son are with us as well. And so you just lose time with those folks if you're in different vehicles and you're not together. And so, I mean, it's a blast to wrap up a hunt, just be pumped up about how it went, then to jump in the RV and the whole ride back, talk about how awesome it is, or that it was, and just all the little memories and all the little things that happened. Now, the ride out to the field at 4 a.m. is pretty quiet. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's like everybody's sleeping in the back, but the ride home every night is a lot of fun. It's worth it.
Man, it sounds like a blast. And, following you guys, and I mean, it looks like a really, really good time. And actually a future plan, just because, like you said, you do miss so much time just on the traveling, and that's, I know the time in the actual pit blind or something when you can just cut up with your buddies and you're laughing and to have that the entire trip. Now, if you take someone you don't like, I'm sure it could get pretty old pretty quick, but if you have people that you've known for a while.
Yeah, well, that's what the back room with the 3 dogs is for. So you just close the back door and put them back there.
You guys are going to have to rent that for an extra week just to get it cleaned out.
There's some truth to that. Yeah.
I think we've cleaned it twice.
It currently has wheat stubble jammed up on the undercarriage all over the place.
My God.
He's not wrong. That is not an exaggeration.
That is awesome. All right, so let's talk about the reason you went up there. let's talk birds. Birds on the way up. What states did you go through to get there? Did you see much flight on the way up? And talk about how many days and how the hunting was.
Okay, so we obviously left from Kansas City on the Kansas side. So from there we traveled through Kansas, Missouri. Did we touch Nebraska at all?
I think for a little bit, yeah.
A little bit of Nebraska. I think a little bit of Iowa, South Dakota, North Dakota, and then on up into Canada. We didn't really see any waterfowl until Council Bluffs.
Yeah, Council Bluffs is when it started to pick up.
Yeah, I think we saw our first real flock of birds in Council Bluffs, and I mean we just started seeing more and more as we traveled north. But the bird numbers really didn't start picking up until we got to about Fargo, North Dakota.
Yeah, Fargo had definitely increased. And for what we were seeing, some ducks, but a lot of Canadians had moved down. We saw a lot of Canada sitting out on lakes and milling around and things like that.
Yeah, lots of Canadas. I mean, the ones in Council Bluff, we were assuming were probably resident birds, just because we had a pretty dry stretch north from there. But once we got to Fargo, they were definitely migrators.
Yeah, they started moving down from there. Yeah, and so I'm trying to think here. So from there we crossed into the border, but yeah, we came up here. I came up for the first time last year with the outfitter that we're with. His name is Richie Barwick with iBar Outfitters, and I got like I said, my best friend Don and his dad came up here, and they invited me to come along, and it was unbelievable. And I'm a pretty big waterfowl fanatic. I mean, it's definitely my go-to outdoor sport. I mean, I love it. I've never, up until last year, I'd never seen birds work and ducks do what they do up here, shooting sandhill cranes, seeing snow geese in the amount that we see up here, even lessers and greater Canadians, the whole 9 yards. I mean, they're all here. And to experience that last year, we rebooked on the spot last year to come up here again this year. And then it worked out really well for us to have Marshall join and a couple of my other buddies, both Marshall and I's buddies, join as well. But yeah, we came up here to hunt ducks, geese, like I said, lessers, greater Canadian, big Canadas, snow geese, sandhill cranes, and it's been a blast. We've shot them all and just had a blast.
Absolutely. What did we start? Monday morning, we shot snows.
Yep.
Monday evening, we shot a limited ducks. Tuesday morning, shot a limited ducks with bonus snows.
Yep.
Tuesday evening, we shot cranes.
Yep.
Yesterday morning, Wednesday, we shot the mess out of snows up here. And the footage we have of these snows is insane. And we're really excited to start sharing some of that stuff. Then last night, ducks. And then this morning we shot cranes in the field as opposed to shooting them on the roost.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. Seeing sandhill cranes decoy is very unique. I mean, the only way that they're more exciting after you shoot one would be if they exploded when they hit the ground. I mean, those things look like they're falling apart in the sky.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And they just hit the ground with the biggest thud. I mean, they're just I'm sure there's Canadas out there that weigh more, but the way that they hit the ground, it just shakes the A-frame every time. So.
They're so long too. So, do you have any crane decoys, or are they just coming into goose deeks, or what?
So you set up a specific crane spread. From what Richie explained to us, and this was it was my first time hunting cranes, and he runs those deception decoys. I'm pretty sure they're the only ones that make a pretty nice crane decoy. First of all, they aren't cheap.
No.
Those suckers are expensive. They're like $100 a piece.
Ooh.
So he's got
3 dozen of those, and you just set them up independently. We actually asked him this morning if we should set up some Canadas because there were some using the field, and he informed us that the cranes do not like Canadas, so we ex-nayed that real quick because we wanted to focus on the cranes.
Yeah, which is funny because we ended up actually shooting at a flock and dropped. I think we dropped 5 Canadas or six
Yep.
out of a flock that came right over us. But we tried to focus on cranes just because it's a unique thing that we don't get to do in Kansas, or at least we just don't have good luck doing in Kansas. And it was a blast. Hunted out of A-frames, had like Marshall said, 36 different crane decoys kind of spread out, and they're just like a lot of guys that I knew that hunted in marshes for ducks. You'll have like one as a confidence decoy, is kind of like their original intention, I think, of making those. And so we have 36 confidence decoys, and it works good. But I mean, they're up here in flocks of thousands. I mean, so you'll drive by this field, and they're just everywhere, just like as if you were driving out and scouting for ducks or snows or Canadas. It's the exact same thing.
Now, another question going through my head, is there a rhyme or reason? It seems like a lot of times in Canada, a lot of guys will shoot geese in the morning, then ducks in the evening. Is there any truth to that? The one morning you said you shot your limits of ducks. Does it really matter? I mean, it seems like there's so many birds you can really do whatever you want.
Yeah, so here in Manitoba, there's actually a really good reason why you see that. And that's because non-residents cannot shoot geese in the afternoon until October 13th.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so you shoot geese in the morning, and then you get on ducks or cranes in the afternoon.
Awesome.
If you don't shoot your ducks in the morning also.
There's just more rules and regulations to make sure you're clear on.
That's right.
That's just easy stuff that you could,
Oh, yeah, and not trying to like pub a guide service or anything, but I could totally see coming up here on our own if we had our own trailer decoys and we were trying to freelance it. You could mess that up real quick, and so we would have had no idea. We should probably be more proactive about reading all those things. But yeah, we got up here and we were just talking through the game plan for the week, and just Richie helped us understand, hey, here's what we can do in the mornings. Here are different options. And so we just tried to balance what we were doing in the evenings. Like I said, we flip-flopped each day, ducks, then cranes, and then ducks actually, because we did cranes in the morning. But you get the point.
Yeah, no, and that's one benefit of going with an outfitter, or at least even if it's a DIY hunt through an outfitter, they should probably sit you down and run through all the regs like that just to make sure they're not getting in trouble, you're not getting in trouble, and it's a good trip for everyone. So that's really cool. And now, do you get in this fun setter or sunsetter, whatever you want to call it? You guys have a grill, or you cooking up some of these birds, or what? How are you going about your bags?
Well, so we're bringing something back with us. So we've all got a few cranes to bring back with us. Bringing back some ducks. We're actually gonna bring back some snow geese as well. Actually, just to use for training with our dogs more than anything else. But yeah, we're probably not bringing back all of our birds, but we are bringing back some of them with us. So one of the things also, the regulation that I understand here in Manitoba is that you can legally give away your birds. You can gift them away, and so you aren't bound by those in that way, if that makes sense.
Right.
There's wording on that, but you don't have to. Richie's not in trouble. Our guy's not in trouble for having our birds or anything like that. So,
gotcha. No, that's awesome. And I definitely need to get on some crane hunts just to, ribeye of the sky, man. You hear about it all the time, and definitely want to try it out.
I'm really looking forward to mine, and we actually brought it up at dinner tonight. What's the best way to cook these? And he said it's literally like veal. It's like what the texture's like. He said cook it to medium rare. Just cook it like you would cook a steak.
That's awesome. That's so awesome.
Yeah, so I'm going to give it a go. I'll report back.
So what kind of...
I've done it before.
What kind of...
No, they're good. They're good. It was actually Super Bowl Sunday last year. We busted out our cranes that we shot last year and cooked them up and had a good time. So that's when we cooked ours. We cooked them on the grill. We just cooked them like steaks, tried to make sure we didn't overdo it. So,
that's awesome. What majority of ducks that you guys are seeing up there?
Man, 85% mallards.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Mallards and pintails, actually.
Yeah, a lot of
Those
pennies.
Tons of pintails here right now.
Sprinkle in a couple widgeon and there's something funny about folks in Manitoba. They love wood ducks, man. They love their woodies. And so if they'll spot one wood duck in a flock of 100 mallards and try to get you to shoot that because that's what they love. So it's kind of funny. Our guy, Jay and Richie are just like, Woody, right there on the right. It's like, I'm interested in greenheads, but that's great. So there's just something fun about just the culture here with duck hunting. But yeah, like Marshall said, at least 85-90% or so mallards. The interesting thing though is that this time of year, I mean, we've shot greenheads that are fully plumed out all the way to, as Marshall says, they got eggshells still on their beak. I mean, it's like they just came out of the egg. I mean, they hardly look like a Drake mallard at all.
That's awesome.
So there is one unique reg in Canada. It's not really a regulation; it's just part of the bag limit. Is that you can shoot any 8 ducks. So there's no Drake hen limit. There's no pintail limit. There's no wood duck limit. It's just 8 ducks. Period.
I was wondering about the pintails. I'd probably be trying to pile them up.
8 pintails
in
Canada.
And one of the and I don't know why I would hypothesize that, especially with like what we shot, as I think a lot of guys that hunt mallards try to do, you want to shoot green if you can, but sometimes you think you don't know what you're shooting or you're trying to, and you find out that it was or wasn't a mallard. They're just hard to differentiate, Drake or not. And so their coloring is just coming in right now, or, some of the ones that are a little bit further along, you can tell, but a lot of them have brown on them, So if you come down here 2 weeks after us from, this date, you definitely will have, green, really well plumed out, mallards. But yeah, right now they're pretty young looking.
That's awesome. And definitely, on cloudy days, it makes it that much more difficult to pick out the green. So that's probably a good reg that they do have that.
Yeah, and today was the first day we saw the sun all week.
Yeah.
It's been extremely cloudy all week long. So I was pretty happy to have that reg because I may or may not have shot a couple extra hens that I usually wouldn't.
So right now, I think we're in the 40s right now here in PA. And, I've been in touch with Ben Webster, and he's in Saskatchewan, but saying that, I think his high the last couple of days have been in like the 20s, no wind, starting to freeze up a little bit. Are you guys seeing that there? And, what's the forecast look for the next week or so as far as pushing more birds down?
Well, yeah, I mean, last time I saw on Instagram with Ben, I think he was sitting in like 6 or 8 inches of snow. I mean, he was they're definitely different weather than us. So we're it's every day has been 30s during the day as a high, maybe
34.
Yeah, I don't
37.
I definitely don't think we broke 40. And then we've gotten close maybe today for the first time. But the lows are in the high 20s every night?
No, low 20s.
Low 20s every night. So there you go.
22 to 27. I mean, it's varied a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, right now it's 31 with a real feel of 18.
So you're seeing some shallow water freezing up then?
Oh, yeah. Yesterday, Moose got reintroduced to ice, and he wasn't a big fan. He was thinking it was a little bit early to be dealing with ice in his book.
He needs that winter coat to come in.
Yeah, he needs that winter coat to come in. We skied a snow that sailed into a slough that had that nasty 1/8-inch ice all over it. He wasn't a big fan of that. Until I got him good and amped up, and he couldn't help himself. He had to go pick up that snow.
Oh, that's awesome. Man, you guys got me pumped up. That's for sure. Our normal opener was this past Saturday, and the Southern Zone opener is coming up this Saturday. I'm hunting with a couple guys out of the HP group. I'm driving down and meeting them. So this last weekend, I was playing dad. The wife went away for a girls' weekend, and I'm okay with that because I got a couple trips coming up. So, go. I said this was like end of August. I think I was like, just pick a date and go. So she picked a date, and it was on the duck opener, and I ate my words a little bit, but I'm like, you know what, just go and do it. And she had fun. So that makes it that much easier for me to go away, starting with the Kansas trip. So super totally pumped about that.
Kyle can definitely relate more than I can, but I definitely shoo my wife away with her friends as much as possible, so I have the same excuse.
And there's a lot of guys out there that, do what you want, make your own rule. Well, I don't work that way, and with our 3 kids under 5, and it doesn't work that way in my house. I'm not that way.
No, I've got a 4-month-old son at home and a 2-year-old daughter, and I can't just abandon my wife, and so I'm very fortunate that she's patient with me and loves me and my passions, and so she is supportive of my hunting, but there's that balance, man, and it's one of those things where the off season is so important, and even just these weeks leading up to it, I really tried to just minimize the extra things, and so I'm right there with you. I know, Dan, you and I have talked before about the kids and the craziness of life with all that, but come hunting season, it's like, all right, I'm cashing in all my brownie points and I'm going. Yep. So let's do this.
Time to go. Well, I told her, I was like, you know what? And literally it's, I guess it's Friday. I don't even know what day today is. Is it the
11th, I think today,
the
right?
11th. Yeah. So Friday the 11th, it's 1:16 a.m. here in PA. I just got off the phone with Eric Chan, who's a biologist in California, and talking about all that. And, he's about to get married, and we were talking family stuff, and he's like, yeah, I'm kind of the same way. And he doesn't have any kids yet. Just had his fiance out shooting specs and honkers, got her first, specs on a 700-mile one-way trip that they went on to Northern California, and his dog got his first retrieve. So, we're talking about all that good stuff, and definitely, just seeing how many birds they see, and then, talking with you guys in Kansas. And I told my wife, I'm like, you know what, the Atlantic flyway is rough, and if I have to, to not hunt around here a few weekends, then for you to let me go on weekend trips, so be it. I might get in a deer stand a couple times this year and hunt, a couple local spots, but I'm not going to push it here if I have a chance to go to Kansas or Oklahoma or wherever it may be. So she was happy to hear that, and I'm willing to give up those random weekends when I see 4 or 5 birds in the air all day. So it's a balance, and something I'm willing to do for sure. But so I saw on Instagram, Kyle, you had a video of a snow coming in slow-mo, gets blasted in the air, awesome video. And then I watched Marshall's, and his was a little bit longer. It showed it, and then it turned and had, I don't know, maybe 1,000 other snows behind it. So a ton. How's the content coming on that?
Oh boy. I think we have a couple hours worth of video footage to get through. And I think I've taken over 3,000 photos myself.
Wow.
So I've got a few hours at a computer to get through what I've taken. And then, Kyle, you can speak to what you've got, but man, he's been crushing it with the video.
Well, true confession on that video clip, and the reason I didn't continue the video clip is because I filmed that snow goose getting shot for as long as I humanly could, and then I threw down the camera and fired off 3 rounds as fast as possible. I'll send you the whole clip some point. It's pretty funny because I'm just like, screw this. I'm shooting. I'm done. And I love to film, but man, I love to hunt too. And so it's just that over and over. But it's been really, really fun. And so I've got, just all sorts of. I've got fun sandhill cranes getting shot, just crazy amounts of ducks bombing into the spreads. The only thing we didn't ever really slam the Canadas since we've been here. Like I said, we've had a few different flocks come in while we've been hunting either snows or like cranes, weirdly enough today, but great snow footage. Yeah. So, I mean, it's been a blast. And I'm really excited to kind of get back in front of the computer and kind of go through everything. But, a lot of the video that I love too is just like, setting up the decoys and little things going on in the blind and laughing and telling jokes. The dogs retrieving the ducks when they go down and just all that sort of stuff. So all of that footage is just as important as the epic, snow goose bombing in. But that clip was one of those that Marshall and I high-fived after. I was like, I think I got it. Like, I think I got a clip that I'm like super pumped about.
So how do you really enjoy the tracking on the Sony that you're running?
Yeah, and I am not a full bore professional by any means. Like I said, I've been filming over the years and I've learned some things. I don't know what's best. I think for when you are able to finally get close enough in on those birds, I found that autofocus tends to work pretty well. And on the Sony, I'm running the Sony A7 R3. It's got you can set the autofocus, the continuous autofocus to fast. And so it can be really sensitive. And so even in that clip of that snow, it kind of blends in, blends out really quick. It's kind of tracking, it's trying to keep up with it, but it ended up doing a really good job. And that's helped. I'm not using the LCD screen on the back. I'm using the viewfinder. So I've got it up next to my eye, really focused in on it. And then I've got my thumb on the autofocus and the manual focus. And so I'm switching back and forth based on what's going on. But that autofocus for when birds are like way out there, unless you've got a really good contrast on the background, it just really struggles to find the birds. So you've almost always got to go manual focus, find the birds, kind of wait until they start to come in. And then if you want to, gamble and flip over to autofocus and really track one bird or a flock that's working really well, you do good there. The other part you get trouble with is that when you're laying down in a layout blind, or Marshall and I have been on we've been using like these Lucky Duck kind of like backer board
gear down blinds.
Yeah, gear down blinds with like a ghillie blanket over us, like hidden down, like we're getting like super low. Well, the problem then is I've got like wheat stubble or corn stubble, and then so like as I'm getting low with these ducks or these geese or whatever, then it catches this random stock or whatnot, and then I lose my focus. So you just got to battle those things. But by and large, I really liked it. The 120 frames a second though that's a game changer on a Sony. That Sony A7 III is just unbelievable for that. And then switching over to 4K has been a blast too.
Yeah, I think Josh has the same camera, and I think he's talked me into probably making the switch on that. And then you go over and look at Marshall's content with the 5D Mark IV, and it's just like,
yeah, he's shaking his head right now. He's like, no way.
I know.
And don't you do it?
I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, actually the Sony takes amazing photos too, but Marshall's been catching some really great footage with he's got an awesome 70-200 lens. We actually sat in some like really tall corn a couple of nights ago, and filmed our guys hunting, that we're with, just to kind of capture the memories, and his footage is just as good. I mean, you just don't have the extra frames to slow it down on, but it's a tough one to try to choose between the two. I'll admit that.
So how's the big complaint about the Sony has been, and I guess for all mirrorless, but how's your battery life been holding up?
Dude, I can honestly say I've been crushing Marshall in the battery game. I've ran one battery almost all day long. Now, I'm pretty conscious. Like I don't just leave my camera on, but it auto shuts off after I think a minute anyway. And I'm not trying to call Marshall's out, but I think you've been running 3 batteries a day.
2, but I've also been taking over 1,000 photos.
He might be having his camera on more than me. That's probably good.
Yeah, well, and I'm probably averaging 3 batteries a day between my 2 camera bodies I'm running right now.
Gotcha.
Well, and Dan, one thing might be, like I said, there's probably guys out there that are listening that think I'm a dweeb because I don't know these answers and I'm running this camera, but that's whatever. I don't care. I'm running that viewfinder in the back. Well, when I say viewfinder, like, yeah, I mean, like, you know what I'm talking about? Not that LCD screen. Right. So I'm not wasting battery life.
Right.
Trying to jack with that screen. I've got it up because that's the amazing thing about a mirrorless is that viewfinder is what you're actually recording versus just looking through the lens at however you describe that in the Canon world,
right,
of what's coming through the viewfinder.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see real-time settings.
Yeah.
In my viewfinder. That's correct. That is a pain. I'll give you that. I probably took 30 photos tonight just checking my light.
It happens.
Which is frustrating. To go.
So why don't you just get a Sony
whenever you're
and
getting
get that
into golden hour and you have to constantly make adjustments. I'm taking a photo that's just junk every, 5 minutes just to make sure my lighting's correct, so I don't miss an entire flock in an action photo.
I should use something really funny, Dan, because I'll just like humbly admit my flaws here. But so I posted a video. I was doing some work footage the other day, and I don't know if Matt White from Rockhouse like listens to this or not, but he commented on my Instagram and he was like, Who's the goon shooting an auto and an auto ISO and something else? And I was like, yeah, that's me. I'm really sorry. Like, I don't even know. Like, I'm like, man.
You get called out by one of the best in the business.
Yeah. Which he proceeded to like help me, but I'm like, so people listening to this, like, please don't think that I'm something insane. I just like I am learning as is everyone else, but it was like one of those moments where I showed Marshall and I was like, gosh darn it, why did that have to happen? I'm an idiot.
I'm just gonna delete that so no one else can see it.
Yeah.
No, I tell you what though, those guys over at Rock House, I spent the weekend down at Southern Oak Kennels with Aaron Hitchens and his mom, and they're some of the best people in the world. So
super cool. Yeah, and those guys live just up the road from us in Kansas, and so it's just fun. But yeah, man, I'm a huge fan of the Sony. I don't know, something really interesting, just since we're talking camera gear really quick. I rented a Ronin S. I've ran a Ronin M before, which is the 2-handled gimbal that you can put a DSLR or a mirrorless camera on.
Right.
And then I rented a Ronin S, which is a single hand.
Right.
Gimbal. To be perfectly honest, I've found I probably could have pressed myself during setting up and tearing down our decoys and all that sort of stuff each day to use it, but I haven't broke it out of the box. I know that sounds insane, and I wasted $100 on the rental, but it's so hard because when you're filming waterfowl, there's just not very many scenarios that you can have this extra 2 feet of this gimbal that you're holding on to. I mean, you've either got that camera nice and tight that you're trying to hide in the layout blind with you, or you might have it on a tripod in the A-frame, but it's definitely not. It was not as easy as I thought it was going to be to incorporate it into my filming and everything. This week we've each, I think the only accessory that we've each had is a tripod at times.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And the stabilization of the Sony's pretty stellar too, isn't it?
Yeah, depending on your lenses. Yeah, so the ones that I think they call it like optical flow or something, or not optical, it's something like that. Yeah, it's their image stabilization, whatever that is for the Sony world. So
no, that's good stuff. Yeah, I can see that unless you're running behind a dog or something like that. And are you working your drone up there?
Yeah, we have a little bit. Had to be careful. Like, once again, I think the rules in Kansas are, you can't run a drone on the field that you're going to hunt in the same day. So we haven't done any of that, but we've just gotten some really cool B-roll of, kind of like a fake setting up decoys or tearing them down or whatever, just to try to, get some cool shots. And then we actually went and trained dogs all afternoon today and got some really fun footage out in this massive cut wheat field, and had the old fun seeker out there, guys sitting up on top of the RV and running dummy launchers and dogs and all that sort of stuff.
I think the only thing we didn't do this afternoon with the RV is roll out the awning and whip out the lawn chairs.
Yeah, that is one thing we were talking about doing, and we never quite did it.
Well,
I'm thinking about it. I'm kind of disappointed we didn't.
It's kind of
that would have been a really cool photo op.
Well, and another thing, we keep going back to the fun seeker here, but still, we rented it because my buddy Don, his dad is with us, who's, gosh, what's Dave? He's pushing 70. He's late mid 60s to late 60s, and he we told him, I was like, hey, on the ride back from the field or out to it, like take a nap or get comfortable, and maybe sometimes we like today, we're not going to come out of the field. We're just going to train dogs in the middle of the day and then go on to our next hunt. So he'd have a place to put up his feet, kick back, and hang out. And so it's actually worked really good for that reason as well.
Yeah, and once we start getting up into our 60s, 70s, whatever it may be, the old backs after a day or a morning of hunting, probably doesn't feel that great on most people. So to be able to lay down or, ride to the next field, whatever it may be, like that's a great point that you bring up.
I'd say that's correct. I mean, to just touch back on the old fun seeker. We're only talking about an extra, like roughly $200 a head.
Yeah. That's
for a
awesome.
Week. Like it's nothing in the scheme of things for the experience that it provides. So
does the outfitter have a lodge up there, and you guys still chose this route, or was it kind of a stayed at a hotel or?
Yeah, so we're actually kind of funny. We're actually still staying at a motel, and so we're at the Canadian Wilderness Inn, and it is it's a beaut. No, it's good. It's we're two guys to a room. Queen beds, normal gig. We eat meals at a couple of local places in town. Boise Vane, Manitoba is
1,200 people.
Yeah, there's not very many people here, so there's definitely more waterfowl than people in this area. So, so we're driving the RV, but staying in a motel, and the outfitter that we're with, Richie, he coordinates it that part of his price is, the lodging as well. And so that includes actually the Canadian Wilderness Inn as part of his package.
Gotcha. Man. So it's a little, I guess you could call it overkill, but it's definitely worth it to have that extra comfort and camaraderie on the rides to and from and all around. So I'm jealous right now. It just sounds like you guys are having a blast and getting to shoot a ton of birds on top of it. Like that's just a great trip. I see this becoming I guess this is a second annual trip up there, but the fun seeker might be making multiple trips up there.
Yeah, there's a good chance of that. For guys that are running on a budget, yeah, it probably doesn't fit in the plans. But, if you got a few $100, like Marshall said, kind of per person, it worked out good for us with 6 guys. So $1,200. We rented this thing for a week, unlimited miles, and we all get to ride together. We all kind of put our, said when we kind of sat down and talked about it, that the memories alone would be worth it to just be able to be together like that. And that was important to us, and we wanted to pay it. So it was not a big deal.
And to talk a little bit more about that, none of us had to put miles on our pickup.
Yeah.
And we're talking like 2,500 miles this week.
Yeah. It's 1,000 each way plus all the driving.
It might be more than that then. Yeah. It could be between 2,500 and 3,000 miles.
Well, and I don't know, all the fun seeker miles inside of the fields as we're driving to the decoy spread out and around and around. So there's a lot of miles in there.
Yeah, you're talking an extra maybe $30 a day, really. on your trip. So
yeah, it's been fun. We've been really glad that we did it.
Yeah, I'd be willing to do that too. And that's that's the majority of the trip, is having fun with the people you're with and making those memories. So man, that's just good stuff. So what you're leaving in the morning, and then do you guys have any other fun trips before we meet up out there?
Ooh, do you? I'm not sure. There's definitely some waterfowl hunts in the future. In between now and then, it's just local ones.
Yeah, I would say I'm probably going to stay pretty local to Kansas, but the only trip I really have planned is each pheasant opener. I take a weekend off of waterfowl hunting, and I meet a bunch of people in my family back at home on our family farm in southwest Kansas to chase pheasants and quail. But besides that, it's really just staying local and chasing birds around. We open up actually on Saturday in Kansas, in the western half of the state. So typically I would travel out there, but since I'm coming back from Canada tomorrow, I decided I'd take the weekend off and take my wife to a Kansas State football game.
Nice.
So, yeah, again, the whole brownie points thing, and take them where you can get them. So, mostly just local trips, but it should be a lot of fun. We're already starting to see good duck numbers in Kansas, although we didn't really see them when we were driving up. I know that like Cheyenne Bottoms for this weekend, we're reporting somewhere close to 100,000 birds. So, the birds are here. Now we just have to go find them and knock on the right doors and do what we do.
Yeah, I know, again, talking with Ben up there, he said that it should be a banner year. He thought North Dakota, he mentioned a couple guys that make multiple trips to Canada a year are saying that, they don't even need to go north because there's so many birds there already. So,
yeah, that's exactly what Richie was talking with us tonight at dinner about, is just the different guides. I think probably all guides, I don't know what the radius is around them, but they know of the other guides in the nearby area. And so they've all been talking, and, they already have felt like a good amount of Canadas have pushed down, a good amount of ducks have pushed down. Snows are still coming into this area, but they said even snows have already had a good push out of this area. Even some cranes have pushed. Kind of the whole thing, there's kind of been this early push in the waterfowl season. I think a lot like last year from what I was hearing from different guys.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I've heard North Dakota and South Dakota even are starting to see really good numbers. And, those guys should start hammering them soon. But Richie said the same thing. He's got guys that he said, hey, if you want to come up this year, I would love to have you, but I totally understand, because here in a couple weeks, it could start to slow down pretty quick.
Right. Yeah, and I know Ben was worried just about because he has another few weeks up there, but he's like, this weekend's worrying me because the highs are in the 20s, and then I think next week he gets it back up into the 50s, so it should open some things up. But he's like, these might wake up, and I think tonight, Friday night, he said there's supposed to be like a 40-mile-an-hour north wind. He's like, birds are gonna, lock onto that and fly out of here. So,
Well, and Ben's like 1,500 miles northwest of us or something. He's up north of Saskatoon, I think. He's way up there.
Yeah. But
we're barely across the border.
We could. I'm not a very good football player, but I could almost throw a football across the border back into the United States.
I think we're seriously like 35 miles from the U.S.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So awesome. Well, guys, hey, it's, let me see, 1:38 here. It's almost been an hour. I enjoyed talking to you. I didn't think it would go this long, just a quick update, but, it's been a fun chat. So, you're heading out in the morning, and have a safe trip back, and make sure you got enough cleaning supplies to be able to rent that Fun Seeker again next year.
Yeah, if anybody has any tips on can you or can you not power wash the inside of an RV? Let us know. Actually, one more thing. You'd be really proud of us. We took our boots off, and we had we all had house slippers, and we tried to be really good the first few days. And then I think this last day we were like, well, whatever. Just wear your boots into the.
Well, that's tough. I mean, if you got 3 dogs running in and out, I mean, how do you that's not going to stay clean.
Well, we brought towels to kind of get the dogs a little bit clean before we brought them in, and
it's the thought that matters. We tried for like a day.
We attempted.
We literally all carried our dogs the first day, and we're like, that's not happening again. So it's yeah, man, we've had a blast. But yeah, no, thanks for letting us share a little bit about our adventure up here, and we'll definitely, like I said, I'll send you some pictures and video. We've just had a blast. It's been so much fun to for us, we just don't see birds work like they do up here in Kansas. It's just unbelievable.
They're really stupid here. It's really enjoyable.
That's why people go, man. They're fresh. They're not pressured, and it's it's a good time. It's the way that waterfowling should be. So,
well, and you try to describe it to folks, and until you experience it yourself, you don't understand. So.
It makes you feel like a really good hunter when you go up there.
Oh, dude,
that's correct.
Dude, my duck calling is on point up here.
Then you get home and be like, man, I gotta get this retuned or something.
Oh, I've got the best feeder chuckle call in the county. And then I get back to Kansas, and my daughter blows on it better than I do. So.
Oh my gosh. Well, hey, she might be ready to go out to the blind.
She
would definitely say yes.
She would. That little girl's. You've got some kiddos that I know are out in the blind with you as well, and so does Josh. But yeah, I mean, that's what it's going to be about. So
as long as King and Big Puppy Moose are there, I'm betting she's down.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I can't. Yeah, I can't wait for those days to share with the blind. I can't wait for end of November to meet up with you fellas and have a good time out there. I'm really pumped for that.
Yeah, we're gonna have a good time. We can't wait. It's gonna be a blast.
No doubt. All right, guys. Well, hey, have a safe trip in the morning, and I'll catch up with you later on.
Sounds great, Dan.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you to Marshall and Kyle for taking some time out on their trip to chat it up with you a little bit and share some of their experience up there in Manitoba. And it makes me just want to do my own trip up to Canada and get on some birds up there.
Yeah, I think we're planning on doing that. But, after the conversation, Marshall was saying that one thing they didn't mention was when you're crossing the border, have your paperwork for your guns filled out. And like they mentioned in the episode, like they had a 2-man crossing station, so it wasn't real busy. They got there in the middle of the night. It was super simple. But if you have all that paperwork filled out, don't sign it till you get there, but it makes things go a lot quicker. So they can tell you're prepared, you're ready to go, and things go a lot smoother.
Yeah, that makes sense. And, always want that process to be as smooth as possible. And I know a lot of guys really, worry about crossing the border and what they got to do. And, no one wants to start the trip off with a bad interaction or whatever, or overlooking something. Right. So, definitely is worthwhile to take the time to do what you got to do there and get that all squared away before you get there. Get
your gun paperwork set up, get all your documentation with your dogs, do all that stuff. So they had it ready to go and had a great time. So I'm excited to see the all the media that they come out with it afterwards. There's a video and a lot of photographs that are probably going to show up after the release of this episode. So yeah, really good stuff. But there is other news out of Canada that we didn't talk about before the episode, but we talk about it every year, and this is probably the earliest that we've ever had to say it. But a young man in Canada There were actually 2 guys were duck hunting up there, flipped a canoe. They were not wearing life jackets, and one of them passed away. The other managed to swim to shore and got released, but I mean, just awful. Oh, I hate reading it.
Yeah, it's rough to hear that, and we talk about it every year, and and every year it's you hear more stories about it, and it's not going to be it's a hard thing to change, and I think one thing I compare it to kind of is like the tree stand harness kind of movement. Mm-hmm. When I started archery hunting, tree stand harnesses in and of themselves were kind of like, not everybody wore them. Probably more people didn't wear them than did. And the ones that you did wear, some of them were just kind of like a single strap, you'd like put one end around the tree and then you'd have like a strap and you'd jump your body, you put it over your body under your arms and kind of stuff. And like, that was probably about to the most extent that you would ever do. That's all I did at that point. And then there was kind of like a shift in the industry where, the full body harness systems came out, and ones that were more comfortable and more user friendly and all that kind of stuff. And there was really a big push across the hunting and archery hunting community to further people using these harnesses. And, obviously I don't think that usage is 100% now, but I think that those are much more prevalent today than they were even, a handful of years ago. And, I think it's going to take a really big effort across the waterfowling community to really accomplish similar, because, if you end up in the water when it's cold, even with a life jacket, you got an uphill battle, right? Hypothermia, things like that. But at least you have a much higher chance of survival at that point.
Right.
And just whatever it needs to be to where that becomes a higher priority, that needs to happen, because every year, as you mentioned, guys are lost because they're not wearing, their flotation devices.
Yeah. So I know Pennsylvania state laws, once November comes in, you're required to wear a PFD. And that, I don't know, man. I mean, this is October 14th when this happened, and the guy was 23 that passed away. They were both 23, and just sad. It's really, really sad. And going back to the archery thing, a guy in Atlantic, which isn't too far from where you grew up, mm-hmm. or either of us grew up, but he passed away. He fell out of his tree stand not too long ago. And my neighbor here fell out of his tree stand. I don't know why he didn't call or anything like that, but he ended up crawling back to his truck and drove himself to the ER. And then he ended up being life flighted to Erie and ended through a blood clot and had a heart attack, and then got life flighted down to Pittsburgh, where he was in ICU, and I think he had to have open heart surgery. So he's still, I think they were taking him off. He was on life support, and I think they just took him off it. I think he's, making his comeback, but I mean, fell out of a tree stand and easily could have been prevented. And I don't know if we need to make it a law to where, start of duck season, start of October. I mean, apparently it's cold enough. And like you were saying, the difference between having a PFD and not, if you fall in the water, your immediate reaction is to swim like heck, and you're going to use all that energy, where if you have a life jacket on, you're going to float, you aren't sinking right away, even if you have waders on or anything like that. So that's a lot of energy that you can serve and can make it to shore, hopefully, depending where you're at. So, I mean, there's really no reason not to have one on. And I know every time I get in a canoe, I have one on, no matter what time it is, but unless it's midsummer. But I'm talking hunting wise, I always have one on, and I don't think I could go and not have one on.
Yeah, I mean, if you are a canoe, kayak, smallish John boat, 12, even 14 footers, things like that, and even, I mean, I'm a proponent of always wearing them regardless, but especially if you're a small craft waterfowl hunt type guy, if you're not wearing a life jacket of some kind, I would challenge you to really kind of think twice about that, because, you're really playing with fire there, and, it's a dangerous game that you're playing. So, I always, remember there's people that, people that love you and that want you to come home after the end of the hunt. So, no duck, no goose, no coot, no nothing is worth that risk. So, we implore you guys, if you're not wearing one now, even a cheap one, you can get them at camo ones off of like Sportsman's Warehouse and stuff for very inexpensive. Even that is better than nothing.
Right. And we do have a new sponsor of the show, Mustang Survival, who they have some of the best personal flotation devices you can have, and I would recommend getting in our Facebook group, because there will be some giveaways of PFDs going out. So
nice.
That's real cool. I think we'll end up with a couple ourselves. So excited about that. And yeah, man, I read that and I'm like, in October, I cannot believe I'm reading this already. Usually it's December, January, and it just goes to show you, it doesn't take too much to harm you. So nature's a wild beast.
Yep. You always gotta. Yeah, that's the thing about duck hunting, man. We kind of, when I think of like, when I close my eyes and I think of like, the times that I love the most being out in the field, it's on those days when it's snowing hard and it's cold and crisp and clear, and I can close my eyes and I can hear it, right? Like that, the sound of just snow falling and all of that. And, that's the thing that we live for. But at the same time, to get there and to get home safely is a risk, and it's something that shouldn't be taken lightly. So, the Mustang Survival life jacket is a great option. It's not the only option, obviously, but it is a great one. And, I'm pumped up to have them, partnered up with the show, and look forward to getting, hopefully a couple of those into some guys' hands here in short order.
Yeah, man. And I'm just, you're talking about closing your eyes and stuff. And I'm thinking back to when Trav and I were in my 14-foot John boat, and we got hit by about a 30-mile-an-hour crosswind and about sunk out in the middle of Pymatuning. And that alone, we both had life jackets on, but that just cemented it in that I will never be in any kind of craft without a life jacket on. That's a very scary situation. And even, you start getting that chop and stuff, and it doesn't matter how great of a swimmer you are when it's that cold and, you got some waves smacking in the face, and it'd be pretty easy to give up when your whole body's starting to shut down. So be smart about it. Like you said, there are cheap options out there that'll float you. Think about how much just a pool noodle helps you float. So anything is better than nothing, like you said. And I hope I never read an article like this again.
Yeah. But unfortunately, those I do is, this won't be the last time we read this duck season. Unfortunately it seems like we, get these throughout the year, and, I hope I'm wrong, but history would tell us that we're not. So until we get to that point, we'll keep talking about it, and we'll keep spreading the message and encourage everyone else out there to do that as well. And, hold your buddies accountable and hold yourself accountable, and, do the right thing by each other, and push for that safety.
Yeah, man. Not much more to say about that. And, I don't know. I'm not going to be hunting this weekend. Might get out. Well, I might get out this weekend. I'm not sure. But we aren't too far away from our Kansas hunt, man. And that's another thing. You know what? You watch all these videos on YouTube. Here's my other thing.
Yeah, there it is.
And these birds just are coming in, just flock after flock after flock. And I'm just excited to see that. You know what I mean? Like we were talking before, and, you're looking at maps before we started, and this place probably holds birds, and this place does, I'm sure. And, we're just talking about different strategy and whatnot. And And there's just some that you watch that you just put decoys out and easy limits. You know what I mean? And it just seems this flyway just struggles with birds, and just seems like it's hard hunting, man.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely harder to hunt, when you've got fewer birds to hunt, and I think that's why, I end up goose hunting a good bit. It's because that's what we got here for the most part. I mean, there's times when we get ducks, primarily divers, and there's pockets of of puddle ducks around, but they're tougher to get to, and access is more important and things like that. But, for the most part, you got to hunt what you got. And for us here, most of the time, what we got is geese. But, we definitely don't have, at least around where I am, public ground spots where just knots of ducks are just piling in, like you see on some of these, YouTube videos and stuff onto public ground. It's just flooring to me to see that. And I can't imagine, I'm incredibly jealous of you guys that live in these areas where you get these numbers of birds that hit these refuges and these areas that just allow big numbers of ducks to congregate and work. I'm so fired up to get out there and see that for myself, and hopefully get some trigger time on them.
Yeah, but we do have a game plan moving forward. Either you or I are going to win the Mega Millions, which is like 900 million right now.
Correct.
And, we'll just build a HP lodge somewhere and won't be complaining about bird numbers anymore.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be amazing. I mean, it's so funny because like I never play the lottery except for when it gets super big and, do the hack bit where I just buy a ticket, whatever. But it is really fun to think about, like, what would life be like if you wake up the next day and realize you won $500 million? Like, just obviously the chance is like 1 in 300 million or something like that. But
yeah, pretty bad.
It's a really, small chance. But if for somehow you got hit with that, oh man, what a life-changing experience that would be. So,
but even, I was looking at some of the other options that apparently they never get, people never turn them in, but I mean, you can still win a few $1 million even if you don't have all the numbers. So
right.
If you are playing, make sure you check them all. Then good luck to everyone out there, and hopefully it's someone in the HP group that takes us hunting all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the lottery games enough to honestly be like 100% confident that I've won or not of any, like even $1. So I always take the ticket back to the gas station and just have them scan it and tell me that it's a dud.
Yeah. Might as well.
Just so that I don't throw one away. And I'm going to be there getting gas or something at some point. So it's not like it's that big of a deal. But I'd be an idiot and throw away like a $30 million ticket and not realize it.
So here's if I win the Mega Millions, let's see, and it is like 500 million cash prize probably. I'll probably pick like 5 people that I'll give $1 million in our group to. How about that?
That's mighty kind of you.
Yeah. So when I win, we'll do a giveaway of millions of dollars.
Is that
feeling generous? I'm feeling generous.
That's
tonight.
Only if we get 100+ shares of that episode, though.
Yeah. Yep. No,
oh, man, that's funny.
I'll be the first person to go out and buy a van and cook scrapple in it. You will get $1 million from me.
I actually, this bears being brought up, I think. In our Facebook group, we were talking where you were posting about we were renting a vehicle for our hunt out in Kansas, and you were jokingly look at these big van caravans and stuff. I actually found a minivan that was like the Dodge Caravan or whatever, like you have, that was less expensive than what we ultimately booked, and you were not interested in booking that vehicle. I tried to steer you in that direction.
I don't remember this conversation. I might have been asleep.
That's convenient. That's convenient. No, we were looking at SUVs and van, and I snuck a van in there, and I was like, oh, whatever. It was like $60 a day or something crazy. But
I don't think, did I respond? I think it was a service issue where my phone didn't get your text. So,
it's weird how that happens. But I think at that point we hadn't decided that we were definitely going to do a truck. We were looking at like SUVs and stuff, and then ultimately I found a truck that was significantly less than that. So I ended up going that route. But yeah, I mean, I was trying to make sure that you had all the comforts of home on the road and just make this an enjoyable, seamless trip for you, and it didn't seem like you were into that.
I just didn't want it. No, after this episode, they're in a 31-foot fun seeker, and it was just a blast. So I was thinking if we did like a 15-passenger van and could just sprawl out, like everyone go to the field in the same vehicle and talk or do whatever, and that would have been fun. But it's probably a little much. So yeah. Going with the truck, 4-wheel drive, no worries. You don't know what, I mean, Kansas already got some snow out there. I'm sure it'll melt off, but you never know what you're going to get into. So 4-wheel drive is a good option.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're a little over a month away to head out there. So, looking forward to it. And, I feel like it's coming quick. This year seems to be flying by for some reason. So, I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. Looking forward to it. I've got a super early flight out of here that Thursday, man. It's like, I don't know, it's like a 6 a.m. departure or something like that. So it's going to be kind of rough.
Same here. We'll get out there and
get us in there in a good hour, and I'll be, we'll be running on adrenaline at that point. So it'll be all good. So.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Cool. Well, you got anything else you want to throw on this episode before we wrap it up?
I'm just looking at notes, and I think that's about it. Good stuff, man. Season's here. Seen a lot of guys getting out and hunting. I mentioned it in a post in our group, but a lot of newer hunters that didn't have a call or a bag or something, and someone in the group gave stuff away. These people are out there and they're hunting and they're being successful with stuff that listeners of the show and in our podcast listeners group are shipping free, just giving them equipment to use, and they're successful with it. And it's just super cool to see that. And the sportsmanship is alive and well. And it's just it's a good feeling to be part of.
Yeah. And I admittedly don't follow it quite as close as you do throughout the day, but it seems like there's been a lot less regulation had to be dropped on people lately, and people are getting a little bit better at kind of policing themselves, if that's the right term.
Yeah, I mean, for a group of 5,600 people, it's a very good group. There's essentially zero issues. And like I said, there's people I got 2 extra calls. It's going to a kid or someone that doesn't have one. Someone will speak up. They send them out. They go out and use it, send pictures of harvested birds. I mean, it's awesome. So I love it. And I love October. I love that waterfowl season's back and just ready to get after it a little bit.
Yeah. Tomorrow, we're recording this on Wednesday night, the 17th. Tomorrow is my 10-year wedding anniversary. And
congrats.
Appreciate that. And as of right now, it is 10:15 p.m. and I've done zero preparation for this. No gifts in hand. Yeah. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. Fortunately enough, expectations are pretty low because we were at Disney last week, so we kind of talked about that. So I think my move is going to be on the way home from work tomorrow. Actually, I have a dentist appointment tomorrow, so I got to get a stupid crown put on. But on the way home, pick up some flowers, get a card and stuff, and maybe we'll go out to dinner this weekend or something like that. But going to kind of keep it low key. I think we just, gotta
those $80 lunches. they'll get you. They'll get you right in the wallet.
Dude, you have no idea. That place just prints money down there. Jeez, oh man.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's quite the conglomerate.
Congrats to you guys. That's a great accomplishment. So I'm pumped for you, and definitely at least a card, handwritten note in it. You should be golden.
Yeah, I see. And I don't do flowers on Valentine's Day because my wife knows I won't pay like the markup price for Valentine's Day flowers. Excuse me. So I always get her flowers for her birthday and her anniversary. So
does she like flowers?
She does, but she doesn't like me. She understands not wanting to pay like Valentine's Day markup for something that you're going to have in the house for like 3 days and they die.
Yeah.
So yeah, she likes flowers.
Yeah. See, I refuse to buy flowers. I'm one of those guys.
So I mean, I don't love it. But it's easy, right? I mean, I stop at like a grocery store. It's not like I'm doing anything crazy. If I had to go out of my way, probably wouldn't be happening.
Yeah. Like Erin's birthday, if the kids want to get her flowers, and they'll get her like a single rose each or something like that.
Yeah.
But I refuse to buy something that only lasts that long. I'd get her a picture frame and put some family photos and she can hang up or some, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. No, those are good gifts too. Family photos are always clutch. Can't go wrong there. So, all right. People don't care about our marriages. So, let's go ahead and wrap this episode up. And, before we do, just take a minute to thank Off Grid Food Company, Adrenaline, Lucky Duck, 737 Duck and Goose Calls, Gunner Kennels, Mount Airy Waterfowl Club of Warsaw, Virginia, Camp Chef, and Black Rifle Coffee Company. Again, guys, support those companies. They support what we do. And we are very, very thankful for that. And on that, we'll go ahead and wrap this week up. All right, that does it for episode 105. Thanks to Kyle and Marshall for spending some time with Dan and letting us know how it's going up there north of the border. If you're new to the show, head over to iTunes, check out all the past episodes we got there for you. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. We certainly would appreciate that. And we would also appreciate you helping spread the word and getting more like-minded people just like you into the HP community, enjoying our podcast, enjoying our Facebook group, and all that good stuff. So until next week, for Dan, I'm Josh. Take care.